This is a very unprecedented circumstance that we are in. The vice president has been at the top of ticket just for about 3 weeks, right? So this next stretch is an opportunity to let voters know who she is, what her plans are to be president. And I think what we're going to see in that moment is really a deep connection with the voters. And you've seen the response already. I mean, Arizona, 10,000 folks showed up in the middle of the evening, in the middle of the work week to see Vice President Harris and Governor Tim Walz. Wisconsin, 12,000 people. These are not small numbers, and these are not manufactured, and they don't just happen. It happens because there has been a hope deficit, I think, across America. And the vice president has not only filled that void for a lot of folks, but not just energized the party and the ticket, but she's electrified it.
Okay, so Christopher, first of all, you are heading off to the convention, I know. From your point of view, what is it that you want to see from Kamala Harris, that you want to hear? What is necessary in the coming days, in your view?
Sure, yeah. What's necessary is for Democrats to come together and show our vision for what we believe and what we hope America can be. I mean, the Democratic National Convention is the formal nominating process for the Democratic ticket in the presidential race, and it's an opportunity not only for us to show our vision, but to have our platform policy issues be solidified as a party and for us to really launch our candidates into the general election. We have very long elections here in the United States. Takes a lot of time. People are running for a very long time, but now it is crunch time. Voters are tuning in, and it's really about giving a contrast to the candidates on the other side and really putting forth our vision for a better America.
And when we talk about that vision, I'd be interested to talk about a few different issues and get your thoughts on that. Not least, I was reading this morning about how important, obviously, the economy is as an issue to voters, and how Kamala Harris is really almost putting at the center of her vision, if you like, that people need to feel better off. Yes, the economy is in good shape, but it's not really filtering through to people. Do you think that's central to getting the message across?
Yeah, I think that's very central. I mean, the economy and people's well-being are kind of top of mind for voters. People here, when we go to the voting booth, there's a lot of folks that really think about the economy at the top of their decision-making process. It's about the economy. It's about opportunity. It's about safety. It's about belonging. And I think that what we saw this week from the vice president in her economic speech just yesterday was laying out a very clear vision and a theory of the case, which is that, right, that America, our businesses, our government should really be in the business of lifting folks up in the middle class and not really operating just for the benefit of the wealthy and the well-connected, but working to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to succeed. And what does that look like? What does that look like, as it relates to wages? What does that look like as it relates to the cost of living? What does that look like as it relates to the taxes that you are paying? And for a very long time, the top 1% have been able to get away with not doing their fair share to keep this great economy going. And working people, working Americans, folks who take a shower after work instead of before it, are really the backbone of this economy. And the middle class has built our economy. So it's up to us as a people, but also up to our elected officials to honor that and expand opportunity for folks and to go after bad actors when they really turn policies that impact not only the economy, but lives and livelihoods.
Another big issue, of course, and we're reporting this morning this possibility of a ceasefire deal in the Middle East. We also are expecting there to be, well, potentially quite big protests outside the convention in Chicago next week. There is a lot of pressure on Kamala Harris to bring an end to this war. Clearly, President Biden doing his absolute best. But if Kamala Harris was to become the next president, there's going to be a lot of pressure on her to get to grips with this issue. Are you worried about her focus and her approach to Gaza at the moment?
I'm not worried. This is what I know for sure is that the vice president for the last 3.5 years has stood one heartbeat away from the presidency, right? The vice presidency, the office of the vice presidency is just that, prepared at all times to be president of the United States in any circumstance. So the vice president is tested. She's prepared. She has been in the Situation Room. She has been helping the president negotiate and to represent America on the world stage and to create and craft foreign policy. Obviously, the conflict in Israel and Gaza is heartbreaking, is devastating, and the administration has been clear. The vice president has been clear as recently as last week that the administration and the president and the vice president are doing everything they can to pursue and to obtain a ceasefire. It's necessary, and it is something that is very vital. And I think that what we're going to see in the Democratic National Convention, we may see some protests. But here's the thing, right? Democrats, we have a big tent party. We welcome dissent. We welcome everyone's voices. And the point of that is that freedom of speech is an American right. It's a value. It's enshrined in our Constitution. So we're going to make space for all of that. I think that what's most important is that the folks are peacefully protesting, lifting their voices, sharing what they believe. There can be no space for violence. I think we're going to see, that there's going to be law enforcement that's going to be making sure that folks are safe and able to exercise their rights. They're going to be, folks who have thoughts that they want to get out. And that's what this process is about, as opposed to what we see on the other side with Republicans and the GOP and the MAGA driven Republican Party, where they are blind loyalists to a corrupt and a criminal 34 count felon, right? Who stokes fear, who stokes violence, who does not have any kind of space for any kind of dissenting ideas, even when those ideas are based in facts. We're going to see a very stark difference between how we lift up our values, we protect our freedoms and defend our rights, and how we actually put forth our vision to move America forward. So I'm not worried. We're going to see a big tent party. We're going to see Democratic Party and Vice President Harris and Governor Walz putting forth their vision. And I think that when voters see that a vision, that stark contrast, we're going to launch straight into the general election with some momentum. But to be clear, we're the underdogs, and we're not going to leave anything unturned, any stone unturned. We're going to work for every vote. We're going to work for every heart, and we're going to change every mind that we can in the next 81 days, 80 days.
And I'm interested you talk about that getting every vote. I know, another issue that Kamala Harris feels very strongly about is the focus on abortion and abortion rights for women. I'm just wondering, how is she going to bring voters with her, either over from Trump or those who actually just were thinking, I'm not sure I'm even going to vote, or maybe I'm going to vote independent because when Biden was standing, he wasn't really the right candidate for me. How does she get those people on board?
I think the next, 80 days are about the vice president and Governor Walz introducing, reintroducing, and connecting directly with voters, with the American people. I think what you've seen over the last 2 weeks, let's remember, this is a very unprecedented circumstance that we are in. The vice president has been at the top of ticket just for about 3 weeks, right? So this next stretch is an opportunity to let voters know who she is, what her plans are to be president. And I think what we're going to see in that moment is really a deep connection with the voters. And you've seen the response already. I mean, Arizona, 10,000 folks showed up in the middle of the evening, in the middle of the work week to see Vice President Harris and Governor Tim Walz. Wisconsin, 12,000 people. These are not small numbers, and these are not manufactured, and they don't just happen. It happens because there has been a hope deficit, I think, across America. And the vice president has not only filled that void for a lot of folks, but not just energized the party and the ticket, but she's electrified it. And so I think that energy, that synergy, that ability to connect among common shared struggle and interests and not divide folks, but bring them together is something that's going to be able to bring folks in. We're already seeing Republicans for Harris. We're already seeing evangelicals for Harris. There is an opportunity for folks to bring together. I think people are ready to turn the page away from the violence and the division and the chaos that we've seen in our politics and move forward toward a state of being that's rooted in freedom, rooted in justice, and honestly joy. This what you've seen is so much people. I mean, look what I'm wearing right now. This happened in the last 2 weeks. Folks are ready. We're fired up. We're ready to show up. We're ready to win, and we're ready to move our country forward.